You sent the message. It's done. It's gone. It's out there now. You can't take it back or change it, but you can't put your phone down. You mentally receive the reply you'll get several times and reply to it again, and you can't stand it. You reopen the chat. You read what you wrote, then again and again. You try to understand the meaning of every word you wrote, every punctuation mark. Was I misunderstood? Did they understand what I meant? The period at the end of the sentence? Was it too cold? That emoji, was it too much? Then the waiting begins. The screen is dark. No reply yet. So you read your own message again, trying to understand how the other person might interpret it. Society calls this an obsession. Maybe you've called yourself crazy for doing this to yourself. Maybe you've concluded that your mental health isn't good. But what if I told you there's a deeper reason behind it? What if this habit isn't a flaw, but a window into how your mind works? And what if opening that window leads you to a conclusion that will transform you into a different dimension? Today, we're exploring the psychology of women who repeatedly read messages, the human behavior behind it, the psychological patterns that trigger it, and what it really says about you, about who you truly are. By the end of this video, you might see yourself and this habit in a very different light. Now gather all your attention and follow carefully. Let's paint a scene. Let's see if it sounds familiar. It's evening, you're in bed, phone in hand. You had a conversation earlier, maybe with someone you're flirting with, maybe a close friend, maybe a coworker. Everything was fine, nothing major happened. You didn't get any unwanted reactions, but you feel a sense of unease that you can't quite explain. You're in your phone's messages, you scroll up, trying to find those words that are gnawing at your mind. You find the message you sent, you read it, then you read their reply, then you read your own message again. You're looking for something, a clue, a sign. Did they misunderstand? Did they reply too briefly? Is something missing? The replies are actually just a few words. Yesterday they wrote more. What changed? What did you fail to notice in what you wrote? For a moment, a pain shoots from your eyes to your head, like a blackout or dizziness, a small gulp in your throat. Your anxious mind starts spinning, thoughts accelerate. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they're hurt, but they're not saying anything. Maybe I missed something I didn't notice. You put your phone on the edge of your bed for a few seconds and stare at the ceiling. You replay it in your mind. Then you pick up your phone and read the messages again. And the painful part is this. You feel ashamed for doing it. You tell yourself to stop. You feel inadequate, dramatic, needy, irrational, but you keep reading anyway. Because in the back of your mind, you need to be sure. You need to know that everything is okay. This drives you to an incredible degree. You need to know that you haven't ruined everything, that you haven't done something pathetic, that they still feel the same way about you. This isn't madness. This situation is actually different from the state it creates in your body and mind, as you might think. It's something much deeper. And you're not alone in this. So what's actually happening in your brain when you do this? Psychologists have a name for this, reassurance-seeking behavior. It's the act of repeatedly checking for signs that a relationship is safe, that you're still accepted, that nothing has gone wrong. And here's the thing. It's not a character flaw. It's not a broken thought process. It's a reaction. Most of the time, it's a learned reaction based on something much older than the message you just sent. So what is it? Let me explain. Growing up, you learned certain things about relationships. Maybe you learned that love can withdraw without warning. Maybe you learned that people leave. Maybe you experienced moments when everything seemed fine, and then suddenly it wasn't. You learned that everything can change in an instant and be left unfinished. These experiences shape what psychologists call your attachment style. And for many women who keep rereading these messages, that style is anxious attachment. This is one of the most common patterns in human behavior, and it affects how we connect with others throughout our lives. Let me put it simply. Imagine your emotional system is a smoke detector. In some people, this detector is calm. It only sounds the alarm when there's a real danger. But in people with anxious attachment, this detector is sensitive. It goes off even with just a little steam. A short reply? Steam. A delayed message? Steam. A missing emoji? Steam. The system perceives these small signals as potential threats, not because it's irrational. In your past, these small signals were real threats. They meant someone was pulling away from you. They meant you had to fix something quickly. Your brain's neurons encoded this response in milliseconds and built pathways for it. That's why the brain does what it's learned to do. It scans for danger. It rereads, analyzes, searches for evidence. It codes the possible threats that could arise and creates a response mechanism. And here's the bitter irony. The reason you reread messages isn't because you're insecure, it's because you care. Deeply, intensely. You're trying to preserve the bond. You don't want to lose it. You know that if something goes wrong, you'll feel insecure and uneasy. But your nervous system doesn't know the difference between past danger and present safety. There is a learned fear, and its signals begin to surge. It just sounds the alarm. And you're left alone with your phone reading the same message for the 10th time, wondering why you can't quiet your mind. This isn't a weakness. It's a matter of conditioning, a protective instinct. And understanding this changes everything. Now let's dig even deeper, because this doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. If you find yourself rereading messages from a partner, you're probably doing it in other areas too. These psychological patterns tend to show up everywhere. Let's look at some examples. Think about friendships. Your friend takes longer than usual to reply. When they finally do, they just say, haha, yeah. You take a screenshot of the conversation and stare at it. Were they upset? Did you share too much? Are they pulling away? Are they bored of me? You think about your last interactions. You replay them over and over in your head. You try to remember if you did something wrong. And here's the weird thing, they were probably just busy. But your anxious mind won't easily accept that answer. Now think about work. You send your boss an email. A few hours pass, no reply. You reread your email. Was your tone wrong? Did you sound demanding? Should you have added another sentence to soften it? This starts to affect your decision-making process. You hesitate before sending anything, second-guessing every word. Because your internal system forces you to do this, you check the sent items folder 3 times that day. This isn't about being unprofessional. It's about the same pattern showing up in a different guise. And it's about the same situation presenting itself in a different context. The underlying question is always the same. Am I on good terms with them? Is this relationship secure? So, where does this usually come from? For many women, this behavior stems from childhood experiences. Perhaps you grew up with an unpredictable parent. You learned to constantly read the room. You became an expert at noticing shifts in tone because noticing early meant protecting yourself. It meant preventing a major reaction from your mother or father. Or you experienced rejections that seemed random, a friendship that ended without explanation, a moment when you were caught unprepared by someone's anger, and now you expect it to happen again? Some women develop this pattern in adulthood after difficult relationships. A partner who punishes silently, a friend who disappears without closure, an ex who says, "I'm fine," but clearly isn't. You've learned this. Words can hide feelings. Fine doesn't always mean truly fine. A silent fine is a cry of, "I'm not fine." That's why you look beneath the surface. Not because you're paranoid, but because you've learned to look. But there's something important. This sensitivity that causes you pain also gives you high emotional intelligence. You notice things others don't. You pick up on subtle emotional shifts. While everyone else accepts the surface answer, you're usually the friend who asks, "Are you really okay?" You have the deepest and most emotional friendships. You are the most understanding friend, spouse, parent, child. Your depth is not a flaw. It is a double-edged gift. The challenge is learning to carry it without letting it cut you. So what are we going to do about this? First, let's clarify what this is not. This is not about fixing yourself. There is nothing fundamentally wrong with you. You don't need to be someone who doesn't care, who never worries, who is completely detached. That is not the goal. That wouldn't be you anyway. The goal is to change your relationship with these thoughts, not to eliminate them, but to not let them control you, to maintain balanced control over them. True self-awareness begins here. This perspective may help. The next time you catch yourself rereading a message, stop Instead of judging yourself, wonder why you're doing this. Ask yourself, what am I really looking for right now? Most of the time, the answer isn't about the message. It's about reassurance. You want to know that you're still loved, valued, safe in this relationship. This need for reassurance is deeply human. We all crave it in our closest relationships. And the truth is, no matter how many times you reread it, you won't find it there. Because the reassurance you seek comes either from within or through direct communication. Some women find it helpful to name the feeling out loud. You can say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now. I'm looking for reassurance. This is normal. I don't have to find it in this message. It sounds simple, maybe even childish and meaningless. But accepting what's real breaks the autopilot. It's a small but powerful step in stress management. Talking to yourself has an important place in psychology. Another approach is what psychologists call sitting with discomfort. Instead of rereading to calm your anxiety, you allow yourself to feel it without doing anything. You notice the tightness in your chest. You breathe, you allow 5 minutes to pass, then 10. Most of the time, the anxiety subsides on its own. And each time it does, you teach your nervous system something new. I can feel uncertainty and still be okay. This isn't ignoring your feelings, it's developing a healthier mindset without being consumed by every thought. And finally, remember this. People who truly care about you aren't scrutinizing your messages under a microscope. They aren't keeping track of your word choices. The reassurance you seek in their messages, they probably already feel it toward you. You deserve connection, not in spite of your depth, but because of it. Let's return to where we started. You sent a message, you couldn't stop rereading it, and maybe you felt a little ashamed about it, but now you know it's not an obsession. It's not weakness. It's not being too much. It's your nervous system trying to protect you. It's an instinctive response, a pattern developed for real reasons, and something millions of women experience, even if no one talks about it. Rereading messages won't drive you crazy. It makes you someone who deeply cares about the bond, someone who pays attention, someone who fully experiences emotions. The world calls this overthinking. I call it something else. I call it depth. What you need to do is not give up on being deep. It's trusting that you can be deep and still be okay. Knowing you don't have to solve every uncertainty. Accepting that sometimes you can sit with the phrase, I don't know how I feel, and survive it. You're not too much. You're enough, just as you are. If this video made you feel understood, even for a moment, know this. There are thousands of women watching this right now who feel the same way. You are not alone. I wonder, when was the last time you caught yourself rereading a message? What was going through your mind? Tell us in the comments how you felt and how you reacted when you did this. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you want to understand this side of yourself and more, subscribe and join us. Next week, we'll be tackling a topic closely related to this: the psychology of women who can't stop wondering, what did they really mean by that? The endless cycle of analyzing hidden meanings. This is the other side of the same coin. Until then, be kind to yourself. Your thoughts may be loud, but you are not your thoughts. Take care of yourself.